What song am I doing there, Brandon?
Back in Black.
Back in Black, God sack. So why would I be singing that song right now?
Well,
could it possibly be because we're fucking back?
Because we're back. Is the black part... Well, is this going to come out in September or October?
September 30th, Brandon.
Oh, so it's
live.
So it's not Spooktober. We're just back. We're not black.
We're back. We're back. I'm Nick. He's Brandon. This is the 10ish podcast, the show where one of us clowns brings a top 10ish list on any given topic, brings some fun facts and trivia. The other does not know what that list is, and they try to guess right here live in your ears in absolute real time. Brandon, how are you?
Did you say in your rears?
I said, yeah, that's what I said.
What did you say? What were you going to ask? What did I do with my time off?
No, I was just going to say I haven't talked to you since the millisecond we last stopped recording because... we're kind of like, what's a TV show where the actors all hated each other, but they came together and had good chemistry on the air? Was Cheers like that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh, no, it's Three's Company. Three's Company's famous for that, isn't it?
I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Anyway, I believe Three's Company, the actors did not get along. That's us. That's me and Brandon.
Yeah, except for the part where we text every day.
Yeah. Well, how are you? What you been up to in this break?
Nothing. Oh, I got the new Avengers game on Xbox, and it sucks.
Oh, why?
They're not a sponsor, are they? Marvel's Avengers for Xbox and PlayStation.
Let me check my notes here. No, not this week.
No, for everybody who plays games out there, don't play Marvel's Avengers unless you like shitty games.
All right, give us the 30 to 45 second rundown of why it's bad.
Oh, everything about it. It's got like bad... On Xbox menu screen, they make you move a cursor like a mouse instead of just pressing like up or down around a menu. Would you like to use a menu by moving a mouse-like cursor around the screen?
Now, when you say mouse-like, do you mean...
like a cursor, like for your mouse.
Okay, but the way you said it made me think of a little
No, not
little
a
mousey,
not a sweet,
like a little...
squeaky mouse. A squeaky, cute... No, none of that shit.
Oh, God. We're off the rails here.
What's the fucking list?
Yeah, okay. This is not a video game Marvel review podcast, believe it or not.
No, nobody gives a shit.
Anyway, we're back in black, and we are ready to rock and roll with...
rock and
roll with episode 101 of the 10ish podcast. Brandon.
Yes.
To tell you about today's list, I want to ask you first. I was looking at our past 100 episodes, and I noticed a trend. We've done some deep dives on the following people. Jack Nicholson, Adam Sandler, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jim Carrey, Samuel L. Jackson, among others. What do they all have in common?
They're not women.
They all have a winky.
Right.
Presumably. They're men. And we need to fix that. We need to talk about some ladies here today, right?
Okay, who you got?
I'm going to tell you about the top 10 most influential, important, significant women in history.
Okay.
This is a list done by BBC History Magazine, and I pulled my notes from historyextra.com as well as Wikipedia. Here's what it says. In 2018, we asked experts in 10 different fields of human endeavor to nominate 10 women each they believe had the biggest impact on world history. We then gave our readers the opportunity to vote for their favorite figures from that list. So experts chose 10 women each, and then readers ranked all of those people. That's how we got our top 10 today.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's about as good as you could ask for, right? On a ranking like this? On a, subjective ranking like this? You're asking experts, and you're asking the people.
Right, but people's opinion should count for something, but I also think experts. Like, a lot of people might believe a myth, whereas an expert would be like, no, they shouldn't get credit for that because it's not true.
Yes, the people are starting from a pre-curated list of only those that experts say should be voted upon. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not like Ranker where you can just enter any option you want. Anyway, we're doing the top 10. Women who changed the world is what they call it. We're going to call it the most influential women of all time. What do you think? How do you want to start?
I'm just going to start with guesses. Historical guesses. Is Cleopatra in the top 10?
Cleopatra is number 24.
Oh, whoa.
Kind of low, huh?
The bar is high. Is Oprah in the top 10?
I didn't even think of her. No, she's not. I have the top 25 in front of me, and Oprah's not in the top
Not
25.
in the top 25.
But, I'll bet... So I'll say there's no one living in the top 10 or top 25. But if someone living was in the list, Oprah would probably have to be it, right?
Yeah. So there's nobody living. That's helpful.
Yeah, there's no one living in here.
What about Susan B. Anthony?
No, not in the top 25.
Okay. Joan of Arc.
No, she's 27.
Man, there's a real Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Ruth Bader. No.
Marie Curie.
Yes. What number?
8.
It's number 1.
She's number 1 on the list? I
And once again,
sorry.
you just fucking ruin the list every goddamn time. Now, half the people are going to be like, oh, I got number 1. I don't need to listen anymore. See ya.
You
Check
don't,
out.
because
They're going to miss our ads.
Please listen to the ads. We're saving all the yucks to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to stay for the yucks.
Maybe I should reveal a secret at the end of the episode so everyone stays tuned.
Okay. Please do. Brandon's going to reveal a very special, life-changing secret at the end of the episode. You have to wait till the end.
Maybe.
Marie Curie. She's number 1. She lived between 1867 and 1934. What do you know about Marie Curie?
She was a science gal.
Hmm.
Did she study radiation?
Yes.
That's all I know.
Okay, here's my quote. Marie Curie changed the world not once but twice. She founded the new science of radioactivity. She even invented that word. And her discoveries launched effective cures of cancer. So that's pretty big. Furthermore, she was not only the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, but she was the first female professor at the University of Paris and the first person, not just woman, but person, to win a second Nobel Prize. She won 2 of them. So she's a big deal.
Those are pretty hard to get. Well, are they? The nomination isn't hard to get.
I know Donald Trump was just nominated by some asshole recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does not mean he's going to get it. Marie Curie, she was born in Warsaw. Where is that? Like Alabama, I think.
Poland.
She studied physics at University of Paris, where she met her future research collaborator and husband, Pierre. Was Pierre the skunk's name that always chased the lady skunk?
You're thinking of Pepé Le Pew.
Yes, Pepé Le Pew. I thought he was Pierre.
Yeah, he was horny as hell.
He fucking was. That's sexual, harassment, for sure.
Yeah, if you look back at those, all he does is sexually harass and or sexually assault cats.
I can vividly remember him holding her and, kissing her.
And her struggling to get away, and he just goes... And her eyes are huge and wide, and she's scrambling and scratching to get away from him. Yeah, it's. I bet they're probably triggering for people who have been hurt.
Let me ask you something, and this is going to sound like a joke, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's any? You know how rape and sexual assault, domestic abuse, those are all
super funny things to joke about.
Well, no, but they are. It's like a cultural, societal problem, right?
Right.
There's underlying reasons for it. Just like there's studies that show there was underlying reasons that serial killers were so big in the 70s, right? Because of whatever. So my question is, do you think that cartoons like Pepé Le Pew had any sort of super subconscious impact on that? Because that was 50s, 60s when those were first out? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Was Pepé Le Pew's sexual aggressive nature embedded into the very foundation of America's youth?
Yeah, they didn't give a shit. No, they didn't care about that stuff back then. I just watched, I was wrong. I'm going to start out by admitting I was wrong about something. I didn't watch the documentary I'll Be Gone in the Dark when it first came out.
I did.
Right, but I did go back and watch it, and they talk about that. Just in the 70s, they treated rape the same as they did just like a regular old assault. That happens sometimes.
Or she was asking for it.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yep, the yucks will be later.
Well, we're going to talk about a lot of injustices today by men. Yeah, but just stay tuned for the yucks. And I don't know how the fuck we get... Oh, it's because I asked her if Marie Curie's husband, Pierre, was the skunk, which he's not. So they married, and together they identified 2 new elements, radium and polonium. Polonium named after her native Poland. After her husband died, she raised a small fortune in the US and Europe to fund laboratories and to develop cancer treatments. She was a woman of action as well as enormous intellect. During the First World War, she helped to equip ambulances with X-ray equipment and often drove them to the front line herself. That's huge. It's weird thinking about X-rays in the First World War. I didn't even know that was there then, did you?
No, it had to be like, a very rare thing to get.
Her genius was also her undoing because she became ill from all the radioactive materials she constantly handled. I think my wife handles some radioactive materials too sometimes, am I right? Curie never lost...
Like your fucking testicles?
Whoa. Nobody's said that.
That's what they sounded like, testicles. Okay.
Well, all this radioactive shit killed her at age 66 in 1934.
Yeah, she's so smart. Why didn't she discover that it was fucking bad to hang out with a bunch of radioactive stuff all the time?
I don't think it's that she didn't know. I think she
was brave?
Took on that risk willingly. Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, I wonder what it's like to be brave. A few more notes on her. She was known for her honesty and moderate lifestyle. She gave much of her Nobel Prize money to friends, family, students, and research associates. And in fact, Curie intentionally refrained from patenting the radium isolation process so that the scientific community could do research unhindered. Pretty selfless. She insisted that the monetary gifts and awards be given to the scientific institutions she was affiliated with rather than her. She and her husband often refused awards and medals, and Albert Einstein himself reportedly remarked that she was probably the only person who could not be corrupted by fame. Marie Curie, the most influential woman of all of history, according to whatever.
Yeah, but
BBC History Magazine.
How much can she bench press?
Right, and how's she look in yoga pants, right?
Right. Well, I knew her name, and I knew something about radiation, so I feel like I learned a little bit there. Speaking of learning, let's learn my next guest. What about...
Let's learn it.
Sally Ride.
No, who's that?
She's the first woman astronaut.
No, not in the top 25. And now think about it. First woman astronaut is definitely cool and impressive, and it's a great moment for like women equality and all that.
Yeah.
But it's not a moment that like shaped humanity yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Marie Curie developed cures for cancer and
Mary, the mother of Jesus.
I was wondering if you were going to go there or not. Mary Magdalene. No, not Mary Magdalene.
Mary Magdalene was the prostitute.
Yeah. The Virgin Mary.
The sex worker.
The opposite of Mary Magdalene. Virgin Mary is number 12, the mother of Jesus.
She gave birth to the Lord and she can't crack the top 10?
This does say she was probably the most famous woman in history, and I'm guessing she would be higher, except that a lot of people don't even think she existed. Or if she did exist, that she did what is claimed of her.
Right.
And if she didn't do that, then she did nothing else noteworthy, so...
She stayed a virgin. Give big ups for that.
Yeah, did she though?
What about Florence Nightingale?
Florence Nightingale is number 9. What can you tell us about Florence Nightingale, Brandon?
Didn't she invent like the Red Cross and invented being a nurse?
Invented being a nurse, yeah. Do you know what time she lived?
The 1880s or 1890s. No, the Civil War.
So nurses had not been invented until the Civil War time. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, she's in the Civil War.
No, she was not, because she was not an American. No. Why would she be in the Civil War?
Well, she should have been over here. It would have helped a lot. Where was she at?
She was in jolly old England between 1820 and 1910. And I don't have anything about the Red Cross in here, but she did.
I might have not known that because I'm
a stupid man.
I'm a stupid adult man.
Florence Nightingale was an English social reformer, statistician, and the founder of modern nursing, not all nursing.
Mm-hmm.
Nightingale came to prominence while serving as a manager and trainer of nurses during the Crimean War, in which she organized care for wounded soldiers. She gave nursing a favorable reputation and became an icon of Victorian culture, especially in the persona of the Lady with the Lamp, making rounds of wounded soldiers at night.
Did she have anything to do with, tipping people off like, hey, if you're covered in dirt and wounded, you should get the dirt off of that. Or you shouldn't wipe your butt and then do surgery on someone. Like, you should wash your hands.
Are you thinking of Typhoid Mary? No, Typhoid Mary
she
should be on this list.
spread the typhoid.
No, I know. I'm saying Florence Nightingale should have consulted with Typhoid Mary about the dangers of
pooping on your hands
stew.
and then cooking.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they kind of had that stuff understood. Well, I was about to say they had that stuff kind of known and understood by the 1800s, but wasn't Typhoid Mary from the 1800s?
Yeah, they didn't figure that out until like the late 1800s, early 1900s, I think. Yeah. Somebody got out a microscope and saw little germ elves. Figured out.
They saw germs with elves inside of them.
And figured out like, oh shit, you gotta wash these guys off.
You can't have elves running around all over you.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so how smart could these Florence Nightingale and nurses of the time be if they couldn't even figure out to wash the shit out of your wound?
I bet she figured that out.
Well, get this. Recent commentators have asserted that Nightingale's achievements were exaggerated at the time. But critics agree on the importance of her later work in professionalizing nursing roles for women. She did a whole bunch of stuff. She has awards named after her.
And a bird.
The Florence Nightingale Medal is the highest international distinction a nurse can achieve. And the annual International Nurses' Day is celebrated on her birthday. She helped abolish prostitution laws that were harsh for women. She advocated for better hunger relief in India. And she was a pioneer of data visualization with the use of infographics, effectively using graphical presentations of statistical data. That's pretty interesting, right?
Yeah. And according to every picture of her taken ever, she wore a doily in her hair all the time.
The fuck is a doily again?
It's that little lace thing that old ladies keep beneath candy dishes.
Let me see this.
See, she's got a doily on her head all the time.
Yeah,
lace.
Well, wasn't that just
a little lace thing?
Style of the day.
That was the look.
Yeah. And I didn't know this till just now. She was actually born in Italy, but all of her work was in Great Britain.
Do you ever think style will ever go, like, regress backwards? Like, instead of tattoos and pierced nipples, it'll go back to, like, putting a doily in your hair?
Yes, I do.
Cool. Can't wait.
And she died at age 90 in 1910. I didn't know people could live to fucking 90 back in those days. She must have practiced what she preached.
Yeah, here's a picture of her very old, and guess what she's got around her head?
Doily?
Lace doily.
Does she have pierced nipples, like you were saying?
Yeah, you can see them through this sheer top she's wearing. They're pierced.
It's hot. All right, we're going to move on from that.
You've counted on restaurants, and now they're I don't know if you've really counted on restaurants. I've never specifically counted on restaurants, but the ad copy says you have. So believe it, Buster, you've counted on restaurants, now they're counting on you. That is true. While their dining rooms might be closed, they're still open for delivery with DoorDash. DoorDash is the app that brings you the food you're craving right up to your door. Ordering is easy. Open the DoorDash app, choose what you want to eat. Your food will be left safely outside your door with a new contactless delivery drop-off setting. Choose from your favorite national restaurants like Chipotle, Wendy's, and the Cheesecake Factory. Many of your favorite local restaurants are still open for delivery too. Open that DoorDash app, select your favorite local spot, and your food is on your way. Right now, our listeners can get $5 off and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code BLUEWIRE. That's $5 off, 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter BLUEWIRE. Don't forget, that's BLUEWIRE, BLUEWIRE, for $5 off your first order with DoorDash.
So you got 9 is Florence Nightingale, and 1, because you ruin everybody's fun, is Marie Curie. Now, what else you got?
How about Mary Shelley?
Mary Shelley is someone I would not have guessed, but she is on here, number 21.
Oh.
So Mary Shelley is the author of many books, including Frankenstein.
Yeah, she invented Frankenstein.
It's funny that a book can be so famous and influential that it can get you in the top 25 most important women in history. Like above Joan of Arc and Susan B. Anthony.
Yeah, I don't want to take it away from her, but maybe I don't understand what it was about Frankenstein that was so big. Or was it because like she was one of the first female authors to make it big in the horror genre?
She definitely was. But I think it's not just Frankenstein itself. I think it's everything she and Frankenstein did for just writing in general.
Yeah.
All right, so that's 20. But Mary Shelley's mother is in the top 10.
What, really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who her mother is.
different last name.
Well, I actually looked up Mary Shelley's Wikipedia article, so I'm staring at her name right now. I guess I should say it because I wouldn't have otherwise known it. Well, how else are we going to get to it? Either you tell me this is other
Just
than...
fucking say it. I mean, you are seriously like...
What am I supposed to do? I wanted to look up Mary Shelley since she's not in the top 20. I didn't know her fucking mom was one of the other guesses. Mary Wollstonecraft.
Wollstonecraft. Mary is number 8. Mary Wollstonecraft, mother of Mary Shelley.
What are the odds?
Since you're looking at it now, why don't you tell us...
You would tell the folks at home about her?
Yeah.
She was born in 1759 and lived to the ripe old age of 38. Oh, shit, that's my age. But, and what she died of?
Really old.
Let me find out. I gotta find out what she died of.
I'll tell you. Don't spoil it. I'm going to tell you more about her.
Okay, I won't look.
Mary Wollstonecraft. She was in the 1700s. She was a writer, philosopher, and advocate of women's rights. And she's regarded as one of the founding feminist philosophers, and feminists often cite both her life and her works as important influences. But what's interesting about her, besides the fact that she's the mother of the author of Frankenstein, is that until the late 20th century, Wollstonecraft's life, which encompassed several unconventional personal relationships at the time, we're going to get to that, received more attention than her writing. In other words, people like to gossip more about her than her important work and writing. Isn't that just people? People are the worst.
She was kissing somebody?
They like to gossip about her.
Yeah, let's hear all about that.
Well, we're going to get back to that. Let me tell you about her work that earned her a spot on this list.
Okay.
She wrote a book called A Vindication of the Rights of Women in 1792. It was seen as one of the foundational texts of modern feminism. And written against the backdrop of the French Revolution, it argued for the equality of women to men. She argued that women are not naturally inferior to men, as it was believed at the time. Isn't that fucking ridiculous? But what do you expect when people... I mean, it all comes from, like, religious texts saying shit like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not get sidetracked on that. She argued that women are not naturally inferior to men, but appear to be only because they lack education that men receive. It's a fair, accurate point.
Sure.
She suggests that both men and women should be treated as rational beings and imagines a social order founded on reason. Who wants a social order founded on reason? Blech, nerd shit. Nerd alert. Now, let's get to the saucy stuff. After 2 ill-fated affairs with some people you don't know, Wollstonecraft married the philosopher William Godwin, one of the forefathers of the anarchist movement.
Hell yeah.
Wollstonecraft died at the age of 38, leaving behind several unfinished manuscripts. She died 11 days after giving birth to her second daughter, Mary Shelley, Frankenstein author.
Yikes.
She died because of her birth to her daughter.
Oh, well, that'll probably make you totally normal growing up.
She died of septicemia on September 10th, which was...
She got the sepsis? She took the sepsis and died on a Tuesday?
What is a sepsis?
Sepsis? It's like you got shit in your blood or something. You're septic, you're gross. I don't know, you got gunk in you?
You're gross. Hang on, are you reading from a medical journal right now? You got gunk in you and you're gross.
Sepsis, what is it? Potentially life-threatening condition caused by the body's response to an infection.
So the doctor doesn't look at you and say, "Ugh, you got some gunk in you, gross."
Yeah,
grossy.
It's a bacteria infection in your bloodstream. That's bad.
Well,
you don't want that.
She died of that.
Yeah, that's bad stuff. You don't want sepsis.
And you do want my last bullet point on Wollstonecraft, which says...
If someone ever comes up to you and says, "Would you like an orange dreamsicle or sepsis?" Pick the orange dreamsicle.
Is that a thing? An orange dreamsicle? What is a dreamsicle?
It's just a kind of popsicle.
You're creeping us out.
Whatever it is, don't
you know
pick
so
sepsis.
much about popsicles.
Just pick the other thing.
Well, what if sepsis is better than the other thing? What if the other thing is brain cancer?
Well, they don't have a brain cancer named dreamsicle. Continue.
All right. Wollstonecraft has what scholars labeled in 2002 a curious legacy that has evolved over time.
Ooh.
For an author-activist adept in many genres, up until the last quarter century, Wollstonecraft's life has been read much more closely than her writing. So it's just reiterating what I said earlier, people were much more fascinated with her personal life than her writing.
Why? Was she
That's number 8.
hooking up all the time?
Yeah. She had a bunch of affairs, remember? I told you.
Well,
which, it's not that big a deal. I think it's just at the time, only men could have affairs. And when a woman had an affair, they thought it was scandalous.
She liked to bone down.
Nothing wrong with it.
Whoa. Hold on. I got to read something. I just scrolled down old Mary Wollstonecraft's Wikipedia page, and
an awesome name, by the way.
A couple lines just jumped right out at me, and I feel like we need to cover this. She became pregnant by somebody. In 1794, she gave birth to their first child named Fanny, naming her after her close friend named Fanny. Wollstonecraft was overjoyed, she wrote to her friend. My little girl begins to suck so manfully that her father reckons saucily on her writing the second part of The Rights of Woman.
What?
She wrote the book, Vindication on the Rights of Women. And she was telling her friend in the letter that the little girl, the baby, begins to suck so manfully, in all capital letters.
Oh, manfully.
Yeah,
Ugh.
manfully. Yeah. Christ almighty. Well, she wasn't known as a writer, was she? Yeah, she was. Jesus Christ.
She was. That's what she was famous for.
Suck so manfully.
Yep. That's you sucked that hot dog down manfully.
Mm-mm.
Okay, was there anything else you wanted to distract us with?
No, I just saw sucked so manfully and had to figure out what that was all about.
That should be the new tagline for our show. 10ish Podcast, it sucks so manfully.
If you're going to suck, at least suck manfully.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Or womanfully, because we believe in equality here.
Okay, so continuing with equality. How about...
That's a big hint, also.
Oh, equality?
Yes.
Fucking... Aretha Franklin.
No, that's not a bad one, though.
Sure, Rosa Parks.
Yes. What number is Rosa Parks?
6?
It's 2.
Oh.
And because America is so prosecuted and in today's world, and because Americans are so mistreated, Rosa Parks is the only American citizen in the top 10.
Well, it's good representation.
Rosa Parks lived 1913 to 2005 in the good old US of A, and she's famous because in 1955, Rosa Parks was an African American living in Montgomery, Alabama, and she challenged the race segregation that existed in much of the U.S. by refusing to give up her seat on a bus so that a white person could sit down. If you live in America, we've all heard this story in school, and Rosa Parks deserves a spot in the top 10. Like I said, she's the only American in the top 10. Her protest was supported by many other African Americans and sparked the civil rights movement, which in the 1960s eventually won equal rights. Brandon, for the folks at home, especially those that might not be as familiar.
Oh, good. Yeah,
I just want you to tell the folks at home what segregation was like in the 50s.
Oh, God. Sure. Well, I've done a lot of research on this.
Just the broad strokes.
Yeah. We had, things were supposed to be separate but equal between white people and black people, but they obviously weren't. And they said you can't come in here, or there'd be a sign that said whites only. I remember seeing a sign on whatever it was. They used to have a store white people could go in the front door, and then black people had to go in. It's they would purposely put a crappy rickety ass side door on and be well, that one can be for black people.
Yeah, it was all a farce that everything was equal. It was separate but not equal. So black people had their own schools versus white people. They had separate drinking fountains, separate bathrooms, all that stuff, because white people at the time could not dare interact with...
Right, you couldn't sit at the counter at the diner or at the front of the bus. And that's what the bus thing is about. They were hey, gotta get up. This fat asshole white lady wants to sit down. And she said, how about you can all... Well, she didn't say, how about you can all kiss my ass. I think she was more polite than that. I don't want to put words in her mouth. It was
not a white lady, the white man.
Oh, anyway, she was no, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that.
And all of this sounds so ridiculous, how stupid it is that black people and white people have separate everything. Sounds dumb, right? Like, how was that ever a thing? But definitely was, white people have a great history of mistreating people of other races, especially black people. And unfortunately, in 2020, it's still happening today. And it's including from the very top. So
good times.
There's good times. Okay, so Rosa Parks, let's tell the story here. At the time of the incident that made her famous, Rosa Parks was employed as a seamstress at a local department store and was secretary of the Montgomery chapter of the NAACP. Although widely honored in later years, she also suffered for her act. She was fired from her job and received death threats for years afterward. So what happened that day? After working all day, Parks boarded the Cleveland Avenue bus. This is in Montgomery, Alabama. This was around 6 p.m. in December 1955. She paid her fare and sat in an empty seat in the first row of black seats reserved for blacks in the, quote, colored section. So she sat in the right spot. Well, right spot.
According to their rules, sure.
Yeah. So near the middle of the bus, her row was directly behind the 10 seats reserved for white passengers. As the bus traveled along its regular route, all of the white-only seats in the bus filled up. So the bus driver got up and
I'd be like, I guess no more fucking white people are going to fit on this bus then, are they?
It's basically what you think happens. The bus driver gets up and tries to move the sign back a few rows so that more white people can board. And he moved the colored section sign behind Parks and demanded that 4 black people give up their seats in the middle section so that the white passengers could sit. Parks said, when the white driver stepped back toward us, when he waved his hand and ordered us up and out of our seats, I felt a determination cover my body like a quilt on a winter night. By Parks' account, the bus driver, his last name was Blake, said, y'all better make it light on yourselves and let me have those there seats. 3 of them complied, but Rosa Parks said the bus driver wanted us to stand up. The 4 of us, we didn't move at the beginning, but he says, let me have these seats. And the other 3 people moved, but I did not. The black man sitting next to her gave up his seat as well. Parks moved, but toward the window seat. She did not get up to move to the redesignated colored section. Parks later said about being asked to move to the rear of the bus, I thought of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old African-American who was lynched in Mississippi that year after being accused of offending a white woman in her family's grocery store, whose killers were tried and acquitted, and I just could not go back. The bus driver said, why don't you stand up? Parks responded, I don't think I should have to stand up. The bus driver called the police to arrest Parks. When recalling the incident in 1987, Parks said when he saw me still sitting, he asked if I was going to stand up, and I said, no, I'm not. And he said, well, if you don't stand up, I'm going to have to call the police and have you arrested. And I said, you may do that. Which is kind of badass.
Yeah.
When Parks refused to give up her seat, she was arrested. As the officer took her away, she recalled that she asked, why do you push us around? And he said, I don't know, but the law's the law, and you're under arrest.
Well, he's just a fucking obedient little bootlicker, wasn't he?
Parks was charged with the violation of segregation law, and although technically she had not taken a white-only seat, she had been in a colored section. Edgar Nixon, president of the Montgomery chapter of the NAACP and leader of the Pullman Porters Union, and her friend Clifford, those guys bailed her out of jail. So yeah, that's the main story. And I thought it was interesting, a note here that Rosa Parks lived all the way to 2013. And so she was able to live long enough to see Barack Obama become the first African-American U.S. president.
What year did she die?
2013.
Oh, okay.
No, yes, wait, is that right?
I thought you said 2005.
Yeah, 2005, sorry. Sorry, I got my note mixed up. 4 years after her death,
right,
Barack Obama became president. So she didn't live quite long enough to see it, but her legacy helped that happen.
She lived she lived the right amount of time to be like, well, at least Bill Cosby was an excellent role model for young black men. She died knowing that.
Yeah, you don't think about shit like that, huh? All the people that die thinking one thing and then the other thing turns out to be true. Life's funny. She died at age 92, so she lived a nice long life. She never had children, and she only had one sibling who she outlived, so she has no, direct relatives. She was survived by her sister-in-law, bunch of nieces and nephews, cousins, etc. So that's Rosa Parks, number 2. The wait is finally over! Football is back, and you might not be at a game this year, but you can still be in on the action with our friends at BetOnline. That's right, BetOnline is going the extra mile to make sure you can get in on every possible chance to win this season. From game spreads and totals to team, player, and coaching props, BetOnline gives you more options to wager than anywhere else. You can get in on their season opening bonuses today and start off wagering on wins, division, and championship futures all day, every day. What are you waiting for, nerd? Head to BetOnline today and take advantage of all the great sign-up bonuses. Don't forget to use promo code BLUEWIRE at betonline.ag. That's Blue Wire, all one word, BLUEWIRE. BetOnline, they're your online sportsbook experts.
How about Jane Austen?
No. What did Jane Austen write, Brandon?
I don't know. Little Women? No, that was Louisa May Alcott. Jane Austen
I think Jane Austen was Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, Pride and Prejudice, and I don't know, something like
Scarlet Letter, maybe? Something like that?
Some Like It Hot?
Yeah, no, I think she wrote 50 Shades of Grey, or at least maybe the sequel.
Not Something Like It Hot. As You Like It? Is that one that she wrote?
Well, we're all enthralled with this guessing game you're doing with yourself.
No, that's fucking Shakespeare.
Jane Austen's number 13.
Yeah, she wrote all of that fucking shit.
You're missing a huge name.
What do you mean, missing a huge name?
You're missing a huge name that I bet most people would have been like their first or second guess.
I said Oprah, right?
Yeah.
Madonna.
No. Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
She's important, right?
Is she in the top 10? I guess she's important.
number 20.
Wasn't she full of shit? Wasn't she cruel?
Yeah, I don't know all the details, but I've definitely heard that she was kind of
yeah, I don't like
not
her.
a nice. But yeah, she did a bunch of charity shit, and she's number 20.
I heard she was a butthole.
I mean, she did good stuff too. Let's not discount that. She helped millions of people. I don't know the full story behind her. Whatever. She's number 20.
Can she hit a 3?
Well, yeah.
Like a basketball?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. How about Queen Victoria?
Queen Victoria is number 17. So let me tell you some hints on the top 10.
Amelia Earhart.
No, that's 16. She was the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic, and over the next 5 years continued to break speed and flying records. Did you know that she disappeared on a flight and she was never found?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I guess I forgot.
Yeah, somewhere in the South Pacific.
Yeah.
Yeah, they never found her, except I think there's a lot of evidence that she just crashed. She's dead.
Oh, you don't fucking say, Brandon.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was 16. The top 10, Rosa Parks was the one American, and number 1 was Marie Curie, who was Polish, and did a lot of work in France. The rest of the top 10 have one thing in common, and that is they are all British.
Oh, boy.
I wonder, this list does seem a little biased to me. Don't forget it was done by the BBC History Magazine. But yes, they're all British.
I think old British ladies.
You probably haven't heard of a few of them, but you've heard of definitely a few of them too.
Theresa May.
No, who's that?
She was their prime minister.
Oh, well, there is another prime minister in the top 10.
Margaret Thatcher.
Yes, Margaret Thatcher is number 6.
She's the prime minister in the 70s or 80s.
1979 to 1990.
God damn, I'm good.
She was the longest serving British prime minister of the 20th century and the first woman to hold that office.
What number was she?
6. Isn't it crazy that the United Kingdom had a female prime minister in 1979?
Yeah.
And look at America, which is supposed to be this progressive...
We've gone backwards.
Yeah, we have.
If there is a spectrum, and on one end of the spectrum is a woman, and in the middle is a man, Donald Trump is the one that's on the other end.
In fact, until 2008, we had nothing but white dudes, and we're back to a white dude. And we have, by the end of this next election, we'll have another white dude, or the same white dude. So anyway, you can see why people like, who was it, Wolfenstein?
Wolfenstein? Wolf Blitzer?
What was that one? The one we covered, Wollstonecraft.
Oh, yeah.
Remember she wrote about all that shit about how men suck? Yeah, so it's not hard to see.
No, about sucking manfully.
Yeah, she did that too. Yeah. Margaret Thatcher, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, longest reigning one in the 20th century. She implemented policies known as Thatcherism, which is, I looked that up, Thatcherism.
It's a predecessor to making your booties clap, making your butt checks clap.
Yeah. Did you? Wow, it's like you pulled that straight from Wikipedia.
It's like twerking.
Yeah.
Thatcherism is like twerking.
Margaret Thatcher was known for that, especially in her later years. She lived to 90-something.
Everybody get your butt out. Start doing some Thatcherism.
Her popularity in her first years of office waned amidst recession and rising unemployment. She survived an assassination attempt in 1984.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But she did achieve a political victory against the National Union of Mine Workers in the 1984-85 miners' strike. She was reelected for a third term by a landslide, but her subsequent support for the community charge, or also known as poll tax, was widely unpopular, and her increasingly Eurosceptic views on the European community were not shared by others in the cabinet. She resigned as prime minister and party leader in November 1990. And although a controversial figure in British pop culture, she is nonetheless viewed favorably in historical rankings of British prime ministers. Brandon, could you name 5 British prime ministers?
I'm going to try. Theresa May, Margaret Thatcher, Tony Blair. What's his current dickhead's name? Boris?
Lou Ferrigno.
No. What's his name? Boris. What's his dickhead's name?
I think it's Boris Norris, right?
Boris Johnson. He has that fucking stupid ass hair.
I don't know anything about him, but based on his face alone, he looked. I'm not going to vote for him.
He's a stupid face and hair. I saw this one thing where he was about to go on TV and his hair looked normal, and he was like, "Oh wait, hold on a second," and he made himself look like he has special needs, and then he's like, "Roll it."
And we do love our special needs listeners.
Yeah, but he especially made himself look like he was just purposely. Like he just couldn't help himself.
Well, let's be honest. If you're named Boris, you're at a disadvantage from day one. Sorry.
Not a lot of hot Borises out there, are there?
Yeah, I was going to say, can you imagine any Hollywood hunks? Imagine if Jason Momoa was named Boris.
Oh, and Winston Churchill. There you go. There's 5.
Okay. Well, I'll bet you can't do 6.
Nope. You're right.
Margaret Thatcher died at the age of 87 in 2013.
What did she die of?
Stroke.
Motorcycle accident?
Twerking too hard. Thatcherizing too hard.
She threw her thatch out.
Oh my God. Queen Elizabeth attended her funeral. It's the only funeral of a prime minister that she attended other than Winston Churchill. That is Margaret Thatcher, number 6. That seems high to me. I don't know. Women of all time? I don't know. Who else you got?
The rest are British, huh?
Yep.
And it's not Theresa May?
Nope. There's no more prime ministers.
Do you know who the other ones are? I mean, obviously you know now, but did you know?
I wasn't like super familiar, but I knew of 2 or 3 of them. And you need number 10, number 7, 5, 4, and 3.
Jesus.
So, let me give you a hint.
Wait. What's her ass? From, she wrote mysteries and went cuckoo bananas.
What's her ass? Agatha Christie.
Agatha Christie.
Is not in the top 25. Let me tell you some surprising omissions from the top 25. Some of them you've already said.
Dolly Parton.
Joan of Arc is number 27. Dolly Parton's a good one. Anne Frank.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge one, right? Susan B. Anthony, Harriet Tubman. Mother Goose. Think of how influential Mother Goose is.
Was there a
Mother
real woman named Goose?
Yes, she wrote nursery rhymes. Just like Dr. Seuss, Mother Goose. That's why Dr. Seuss named himself that.
What the fuck? There was I thought
Mother
that
Goose?
was just like Mother Nature. They just gave a name to some bullshit.
No. Mother Goose.
It says imaginary author.
Fuck. Well.
I knew I was right. God damn, I'm always right.
No. Mother Goose. This picture of her, I mean, she does have a hell of an ass. Okay. So Mother Goose. Lizzo is not in the top 25.
Nope.
Bette Midler, Elaine Bennis, Honey Boo Boo. But for a real one that's not in 25, Marilyn Monroe. I know she was just like a celebrity actress, but she is super important and influential in history.
Yeah, if Oprah didn't make it.
She's got to be, I think Marilyn Monroe's got to be the most famous like celebrity female, right? Someone that got their fame from just like entertainment. Let me give you 25 through 11. 25 is Elizabeth Fry. She led campaigns in the Victorian period to make conditions for prisoners more humane.
Mm-hmm.
24 is Cleopatra, the final ruler of Egypt's Ptolemaic dynasty. 23 was Vera Atkins. She did some military shit. 22 was Catherine the Great, Russia's longest ruling female leader. Russia has had a female ruler and the United States has not, so. Mary Shelley was 21. 20 was Mother Teresa. 19 was Mary Seacole. Let's see, what did she do? Something about a nurse during a war. Josephine Butler is 18. She brought into open discussion in Victorian Britain the double sexual standard that existed in a male-dominated society. 17 was Queen Victoria. 16, Amelia Earhart, the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic. 15, you haven't guessed her, Princess Diana of Wales.
Oh, yeah.
She's 15. 14 is Boudicca, Queen of the Iceni tribe during the Roman occupation of Britain. 13, Jane Austen. 12, Virgin Mary. 11, Eleanor of Aquitaine.
Yeah, easy for you to say.
I'm making some enemies. Eleanor of Aquitaine. Aquitaine. I fucking can't say it. Aquitaine.
What the hell?
Aquitaine, that's gotta be it. Eleanor of Aquitaine.
What's going on?
Oh man, I pulled a Thatcher and had a stroke. So now, let me give you a hint on number 10. British, died in 1958. Author, paleobotanist, campaigner for eugenics and women's rights.
Wait, she was for eugenics?
Yes.
Well, that's not good.
She made significant contributions to plant paleontology and coal classification and was the first female academic on the faculty of the University of Manchester. It's Marie Stopes.
Oh.
You've heard that name, right?
Yes.
Well, she was controversial. We'll get to the eugenics stuff, but she was a key figure in publicizing her cause. The first birth control clinic was set up in a poor working class area of North London in 1921, and she brought to women worldwide the opportunity for planned pregnancies.
Okay.
So planned pregnancies was not a thing until 1921. Doesn't that seem like so late?
Yeah, well.
And now, planned pregnancies have been around for 100 years, and the population's bigger than ever.
You could pull it out.
Yeah, no, I think that's what.
I mean, it helps.
I think that's what she taught. Yeah, so go ahead and tell folks about the pulling out method, Brandon. How's it work?
I can't tell you that. I can't discuss that on the Blue Wire Network.
Okay, yeah. That's where you draw the line.
How did she make birth control in the early 1900s?
I'm going to tell you. With her second husband, Humphrey.
Oh, God. But he was.
Humphrey
really puts the hump in Humphrey.
Imagine again, Jason Momoa or Matthew McConaughey, but their name is Humphrey.
And who is she?
I don't think they'd be famous. Seriously. Humphrey and her, they founded the first birth control clinic in Britain. She edited the newsletter Birth Control News, which gave explicit practical advice. Her sex manual, oh baby, Married Love, in 1918 was controversial and influential and brought the subject of birth control into wide public discourse. Stopes publicly opposed abortion, arguing that the prevention of conception was all that was needed, though her actions in private were at odds with her public pronouncements. Isn't that always the way it is?
What does that mean? She was aborting them left and right?
I don't know. I didn't see that, but I didn't really dive into that.
Tell me about eugenics.
So, well, first you asked about how they're doing birth control.
Oh, right.
So what they did, this is 1921 when this birth control clinic opened. It offered mothers birth control advice. And it said, pull the dick out, lady. It taught them birth control methods and dispensed Stopes' own, quote, pro-race, and later the, quote, racial cervical caps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Get it? She's wanting to prevent the births of people of other races.
Oh, wait, that's what she wanted to do?
That's how I take it. Let's find out. The free clinic was open to all married women. Stopes opposed abortion. She tried to discover alternatives for families and increase knowledge about birth control and the reproductive system. Think about teaching about the reproductive system in 1921. They'd be like, so the dragon inside your vagina pulls the dick.
They had animals. They probably knew better than you did. I'd seen animals doing all kinds of crazy stuff to each other.
It's true. We have a lot of respect for our animal female listeners. Options included the cervical cap, which was the most popular, coitus interruptus.
So wait, the
Coitus interruptus.
cervical cap is a little hat for your cervix, and coitus interruptus is pulling it out.
Is that what it is?
Well, you're humping, you like interrupt it.
I know, but is that like the scientific phrase for it? I didn't look it up.
I'm looking it up.
Coitus interruptus. Well, while you're doing that, she also promoted spermicides based on soap and oil, and she rediscovered the use of olive oil-soaked sponges as an alternative birth control.
It is pulling out. It's the withdrawal method. Coitus interrupted. The withdrawal method of contraception, coitus interruptus, is the practice of withdrawing the penis from the vagina and away from a woman's external genitals before ejaculation to prevent pregnancy. The goal of the withdrawal method, also called pulling out, is to prevent sperm from entering the vagina. It's not as effective in preventing pregnancy as other forms of birth control.
I guess it's like better than nothing, right? But it's not foolproof.
Right. Coitus interruptus sounds like when you're watching Wile E. Coyote cartoons, and they, at the beginning, when they were chasing each other, they used to freeze, and then it would say like a silly like Latin name, for the animal.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Be like if you're humping, what's her?
Do you have to say it like that?
Well,
if you're humping,
her
what's her
guy's
name?
name was Marie and Humphrey Stopes are Humphreying away. And then it freeze frames, and they both like look at the camera with a surprise look on their face, and it says "ding, coitus interruptus."
The first thing they'd say probably is, "What the fuck is that?" Looking at the camera.
Marie Stopes.
Okay. Well, let's talk about her eugenics. What are eugenics, Brandon? Tell the folks at home real quick.
I don't know. I don't know how to explain eugenics. It's bad though.
It's basically it's
eliminating people through breeding.
Like selective breeding, right?
I guess. I don't know. It's bad. Don't do it.
So in her biography of Marie Stopes, June Rose claimed Marie was an elitist and idealist, interested in creating a society in which only the best and beautiful should survive. Her particular efforts to provide birth control for the poor had far more to do with her eugenic concerns about the impending, quote, racial darkness that the adoption of contraception promised to illuminate.
She thought that only like the smart and beautiful should be procreating. Okay, well,
yes.
She might have been smart. She might have been white, but I looked her up and she is unfuckable.
Careful. Let me look her up. I mean, I don't know. I've seen worse.
Okay, but I've seen worse. No.
I just love thinking about this lady telling people to pull their dicks out.
She sucks.
Okay, well, anyway, you're going to love this, that when Marie Stopes died at age 77 in 1958 from breast cancer at her home in Dorking, Surrey, her will left her clinic to the Eugenics Society. Most of her estate went to the Royal Society of Literature, and then her son Harry received a copy of her dictionary.
You dumbass, you don't know any words and you can't spell. Here's a book.
She left her fortunes to the Eugenics Society and her son a dictionary that she owned.
Why did she hate her kid?
I mean, maybe she thought there's no greater gift than the gift of education.
Well, there is. There is. It's a bunch of money.
Yeah.
The better gift than a bunch of education is a shitload of money, because then you don't need an education.
Okay. Let me get, do you want to try any more guesses? Or you think you're out?
Queen Elizabeth II.
You already said her, I think, right?
No, I didn't.
Maybe not, but no, she's not in here.
Elizabeth Hurley.
No.
Are there any other models?
No.
Okay, hold on. I got to scratch out a bunch of guesses.
Mm-hmm.
Adele.
That's the real number one. 1A. What you guessed 1B earlier.
Well, now I'm out.
All right. So let me tell you about number 7.
Your game of guess old British ladies has come to a stalemate.
The Baroness. This person was made the Baroness by Queen Victoria.
Okay.
Does that ring a bell?
No.
In 1837, she became one of the wealthiest women in England when she inherited her grandfather's fortune of around 1.8 million euros, the equivalent of 160 million today. She was a pioneer in social housing, building homes for the poor, and financed numerous projects, including the redevelopment of East London. Spent the majority of her wealth on scholarships, endowments, and a wide range of philanthropic causes. She co-founded with Charles Dickens a home for young women who had turned to a life of immortality. Or immorality.
They turned into fucking vampires?
Okay, it's Angela Burdett Coutts. She just did a bunch of wholesome shit for people. That's it. She died in 1906.
Well,
she's number 7.
She sounded nice. She was friends with Charles Dickens.
Yeah, do you like old Mr. Dickens?
I bet you do. Fucking pervert.
You know what else I like? The Weird Distractions Podcast. It's a weekly podcast that provides weird stories of true crime, conspiracies, and the paranormal. Listen to this.
Do you often find that you need a distraction from everyday life?
Do you like true crime, conspiracy theories, paranormal stories, and other weird, dark tales?
Well, tune in and turn up Weird Distractions Podcast, where we, your hosts, Christy
and Alex,
bring you a weird distraction to help you get through the work week.
Every Sunday morning, you can find our show on Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, Good Pods, and more.
So, grab a snack, get comfy,
and make sure to lock those doors. Need a distraction? We got you.
That is the Weird Distractions Podcast, and now, Brandon, you can stop distracting us with your bullshit and give your guess for the rest of this list. You need number 5 and 4 and 3. All right, this person you may have heard of. She was an English chemist, an X-ray crystallographer, whose work was central to the understanding of the molecular structures of DNA and RNA, and viruses and coal and graphite.
Oh. When it comes to DNA, I know those two ugly guys, Watson and Crick.
Yes, she worked with them.
Two ugly man nerds who figured out it was a double helix.
Yes, but they were able to do that because of her work.
Lady,
Rosalind Franklin.
Oh yeah, I didn't know her name.
When the double helix structure of DNA was discovered, scientists claimed that they had unraveled the secret of life itself. The crucial piece of evidence was provided by the expert crystallographer Rosalind Franklin. The famous photograph 51, an X-ray picture showing a dark cross of dots, the signature image of a concealed molecular spiral.
Oh, that's cool.
Let me ask you this.
She basically took a picture of DNA.
Right.
She is the woman who took the X-ray photo for them to either determine that their theory was correct or to look at it and say oh, that's what it fucking looks like.
So what does it say that they could discover the secret of life itself, the DNA, in whatever this was, like the 40s or 50s probably. But black people still had to sit at the back of the bus at this same time. It's like on the left side of the ledger, humans were making so much progress, and on the right side, they were
fucking
not
stupid
progressing
as hell.
at all, or too slowly. Yeah.
Look at this now. I got a phone in my pocket that can
Yeah, you're right. It's a great example.
Yeah, and I can't finish any of these thoughts, but you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Cool phone in my pocket, and dum-dums have a phone too. I found the picture of her X-ray.
Send it to me.
And I did not remember her name, but I do remember this image from learning about DNA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen that. It's crazy, right? Can't believe they were able to get that.
Like an itty-bitty little... Yeah.
Science, man. Too bad only some of science is real.
Yeah, too bad it's a hoax.
The life-changing innovations that followed this discovery of DNA included mapping the human genome, test tube babies, genetic engineering. They all depend on the understanding chemical foundations of heredity. Franklin was best described as, so now about her personal life. She was best described as an agnostic. Her lack of religious faith apparently did not stem from anyone's influence, rather from her own line of thinking.
Yeah, she's a scientist.
Her mother recalled that she refused to believe in the existence of God and remarked, well, anyhow, how do you know he isn't she? Because the Bible says so. Yeah, I like Rosalind. She's great.
Yeah.
Now tell me if you still like her after this. She initially blamed Winston Churchill for inciting the war.
Yeah. I think she's probably got a couple points there.
She did not seem to have an intimate relationship with anyone in her whole life, and always kept her deepest feelings to herself.
Mm-hmm.
After her younger days, she avoided close friendships with the opposite sex, so she never had she probably died a virgin. Which is fine.
Yeah.
Just interesting. She did die at a young age in 1958 in Chelsea, London, of ovarian cancer, and exposure to X-ray radiation is sometimes considered to be the possible factor. Now, Franklin was instrumental, would you agree, in the DNA and RNA stuff. But she was never nominated for a Nobel Prize. But her associates were, including Crick and Watson. She died in 1958, and during her lifetime, the DNA structure was not considered to be fully proven. It wasn't until after she died that general acceptance of the DNA double helix was ovarian cancer.
Oh, that's a bummer.
But her colleague, Aaron Klug, did win a Nobel Prize, and it was said that, and it's based on her work. So anyway, basically, she should have won a Nobel Prize. Can you win a Nobel Prize posthumously? I don't know.
I think you can, but you probably would have had to have died extremely recently. Like, they probably won't give it next year to, like, the caveman who discovered the wheel.
Cave woman.
Like, hey, we never gave a shout out to that guy.
You just need 2 more. I think you've heard of number 4.
Okay.
It's a good last name. Like, it could be a band name or a book title or a movie title or a romance novel title.
Is it an author?
No, she was considered to be the first computer programmer, a gifted mathematician.
Oh, God.
She is believed to be, by some, to be the first to recognize that the machine had applications beyond pure calculation and published the first algorithm intended to be carried out by such a machine. As a result, she is often regarded as the first to recognize the full potential of computers.
Okay.
Ada Lovelace.
And
Ada Lovelace.
She's like a scientist.
Mathematician.
Okay.
She died in 1852. So wait, they're doing computers in 1852?
What the fuck? Is she a fucking time traveler? Wait, what?
Yeah. Let's find out about her. Between 1842 and 1843, Ada translated an article on the calculating engine, supplementing it with an elaborate set of notes simply called Notes. Lovelace's notes are important in the early history of computers, containing what many consider to be the first computer program, that is, an algorithm designed to be carried out by a machine.
Oh, okay. So, like, yeah, programming a machine.
Yeah.
Like, if you...
And I think, like, the foundations of what she said served as the foundation for later computer programming.
That is actually...
Like, the way we think of computers.
Right, like, do you know how a player piano works?
I don't, no.
A player piano, or at least the original, like, player piano, they play based on where holes are located in these sheets. So the sheet turns, and when there's a hole there, it knows to play a note in a certain spot. And you have a long enough sheet with the holes in the right spots, it plays a whole song. You remember from Westworld? The sheets?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that would, I guess, be an example of like an early programming type thing. You have to put the holes in the right spots so that the machine plays the song. Yeah. Although this is I would assume this is way earlier, and she's not thinking about playing music. She's thinking about like calculating shit.
Nerd shit, in other words.
She wants to take the cotton gin and turn it into a thinking machine supercomputer.
It sure beats like doing the dishes and other shit women at the time were doing.
She's like, you guys are just using this machine to get the seeds out of cotton? You could be fucking watching porn on this thing.
Oh my God, imagine how mind-blowing porn would have been at 1840s farmers.
They would have just beat the computer to death and run after the animals again.
She did have some scandals.
Oh, yeah.
Firstly,
I looked her up, and she is...
Yeah.
She may be a mathematician, but she dresses like Lady Gaga.
Okay, well, now I gotta look her up. Doesn't she have a great name, though? Lovelace?
Yeah. She's wearing this purple thing with some kind of thing going down the back. It's got all this black lace on it and feathers.
Yeah. Oh, I see it. Yeah.
She does not dress like a mathematician. She dresses like the Jeff Goldblum kind of mathematician.
The fuck is that? Jeff Goldblum. When was he a mathematician?
In Jurassic Park. He was like a rock and roll mathematician.
Oh, was he a mathematician?
Yeah.
He was a statistician, which
is similar. He's a mathematician. And then he said chaotician, actually. No, he's a mathematician.
Well,
do
you want to hear about
cool.
Lovelace's scandals?
Yeah.
She had a relaxed approach to extramarital relationships with men.
Oh, yeah.
She had a love of gambling. She apparently lost more than 3,000 euros on the horses.
Nice.
During the later 1840s, and the gambling led to her forming a syndicate with male friends in an ambitious attempt in 1851 to create a mathematical model for successful bets. This went disastrously wrong, leaving her thousands of pounds in debt, forcing her to admit it all to her husband. She had a shadowy relationship. Fucking shadowy relationship. What the hell does that even mean? She had a shadowy relationship with some guy in 1844.
Uh-huh.
And that guy destroyed most of their correspondence after her death, part of a legal agreement. And during her final illness, she would panic at the idea of her lover being kept from visiting her. So she did die at age 36 in 1852 from uterine cancer, probably exasperated by the genius physicians who did bloodletting.
Oh, that's how they helped her. You know what's wrong with you? You got too much blood in you.
Yeah.
Let's get some of this shit out of here.
I'd like to know who first thought of that. I mean, I guess it makes sense if, your
blood's making
logically.
Your blood's
if the blood's making you sick, then get it out.
Like, well, how do you know it's the blood? Trust me. I've been doing this a long time. How many people have you healed? Huh? How many people have you cured? Wait, what? Hold on a second. I'm cutting open your arm. Now, what was that again? How many people have I what?
Well, under her mother's influence, Ada had a religious transformation and was coerced into repenting of her previous conduct and making Annabella, her mother, her executor. Ada, when she died, she lost contact with her husband after she confessed something to him on August 30th, a few months before she died, which caused him to abandon her bedside forever. It is not known what she told him. Yeah. So that's pretty spicy, pretty sultry, pretty hot. Ada Lovelace, she's the hottest one in here, I think.
She said, I think your breath stinks. He said, all right, well, you can just die by yourself then. Enjoy that.
Maybe she asked him to listen to the Tennis podcast with her.
He said, I'm going to go check it out right now. And then later on, they're like, how long have you been listening to the Tennis podcast? He's like, hours. Is she okay? No, she's dead now. She passed.
Or he didn't want to listen at all, and he told her he was going to and then never came back. Equally possible.
Either way, he missed it.
Yeah. The last one on here is number 3, Emmeline Pankhurst. Have you heard of her?
It's the first time I've ever heard those sounds put together in that order in my life.
Emmeline Pankhurst lived between 1858 and 1928 and best remembered for organizing the UK suffragette movement and helping women win the right to vote.
Suffragette, like the "et" part is something you put onto the feminized version of something that is like a guy thing to me.
A man's word?
Yeah.
Like manfully voting?
Yeah, like a man would be a suffrage or a suffrager, and a woman would be a suffragette. Oh, look, it's the cute,
That's
like
stupid.
a woman version. They're not rockers, they're the Rockettes.
Actually, fuck that, because I took French in high school, and I know like other languages are the same way, where there's a masculine and feminine version of the same fucking word.
Mm-hmm. You don't like that?
Like, it just complicates everything.
And
there's also a proper and improper form of every word.
I kind of like that in Spanish.
But it just complicates everything.
You got your abuelo and your abuela. And then you have the diminutive for, you can turn it into abuelita.
Stop it.
I like it. I like Spanish. I think it would be more fun to speak Spanish. I think you could probably tell more jokes. I think you could probably say more silly things in Spanish than you can in English.
Well, I'm going to make sure you're deported for saying that. You fucking un-American.
Look at all the options you get. I could call you, instead of saying amigo, I could say mi amiga. And then you're a girl. I make you a girl.
You can do that now. You can do that in English.
You're my friend who's
Just
a girl.
call me a girl. You remember when you rolled your R's on burrito?
Burrito.
Fuck me, I don't know why.
Burro.
Tickles my dick every time.
So yeah, Emmeline Pankhurst.
Well, let me finish telling you about Emmeline Pankhurst so we can end this. She was a charismatic leader and powerful orator. I fucking bet. She roused thousands of women to demand their democratic right in a mass movement that has been unparalleled in British history. She was named by Time one of the 100 most important people of the 20th century, stating that she shaped an idea of women for our time, and she shook society in a new pattern from which there could be no going back. So basically, she got suffrage for women in the...
All they had to do was ask for it, and so she did it. It was
Get
easy.
this, though. Originally, in 1918, the Representation of the People Act granted votes to all men over the age of 21 and women over the age of 30. Men 21, women 30. This discrepancy was intended to ensure that men did not become minority voters as a consequence of the huge number of deaths suffered during the First World War.
Well, maybe you guys shouldn't have been fucking shooting guns at each other and you wouldn't have all died.
No. That's a thought. the age of 30 was brought down to 21 like men in 1928. But let me tell you, the most interesting part of Miss Pankhurst is that she, in doing all this to get women the right to vote, she endured 13 imprisonments.
God damn.
In fact, one of those times she was protesting with 300 women on Parliament Square. They were met with aggressive police force directed by Home Secretary Winston Churchill.
See, I knew he was a dickhead.
Under Churchill's leadership, officers punched the marchers, which were women, twisted arms, and pulled on women's breasts.
Oh.
That just sounds ouch.
I'm sorry, but like, of all the ways to get them to stop, that's like fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Handing out titty twisters.
And the fucking assholes were probably like, oh, they'll love this. Women love it when you do this. But when imprisoned, she and others were often on hunger strikes. In prison, Pankhurst was horrified by the screams of women being force-fed during hunger strikes. In her autobiography, she wrote, quote, "I shall never while I live forget the suffering I experienced during the days when those cries were ringing in my ears." And so she was in prison 13 times. She was often released after several days because of her bad health.
Hey, that's a pretty good plan. So like,
yeah,
well, I'm gonna not eat, make myself sick, kick me out. Fuck you, I'll be back.
Yeah, and it led to the Cat and Mouse Act, which allowed similar releases for other suffragettes facing ill health due to hunger strikes. Finally, she died at age 69 in 1928, but her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren have continued to work for women's rights to this day, and in the 2015 film Suffragette, Pankhurst is played by Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep was going to be one of my guesses. Of course she was played by Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep likes to appear in movies where she has to wear a period costume, right?
I think she looks for roles like that, yeah.
She played Margaret Thatcher.
She looks kind of like Margaret Thatcher.
Well, there you go. Number 1, Meryl Streep.
All right. Should I go back through the top 10?
Yeah.
Number 10, Marie Stopes, which was the eugenics lady, founded the first birth control clinic in Britain. You think eugenics is funny, Brandon?
No, I would just think the eugenics lady.
Number 9 was Florence Nightingale. She was the founder of modern nursing. Number 8 is Mary Wolfenstein / Wollstonecraft.
Uh-huh.
She was the mother of Mary Shelley and also one of the most important feminist writers of all time. Number 7 was Angela Burdett Coutts, who was made Baroness by Queen Victoria for her work on behalf of the poor. Number 6 was Margaret Thatcher, the first Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Number 5 was Rosalind Franklin, who helped with the discovery of DNA and a bunch of other shit. Number 4 is Ada Lovelace, who dressed like Lady Gaga, but also, what did she do? Oh, she was the first computer programmer, mathematician. And number 3 was Emmeline Pankhurst, the last one we talked about, who was in prison 13 times, helped women get suffrage in the United Kingdom. Number 2 was Rosa Parks, who refused to get up from her bus seat.
Said, deal with it.
No, you said that she said, kiss my ass.
No, she said, deal with this.
Part of the civil rights movement. Number 1 was Marie Curie, who discovered a bunch of effective cures for cancer, founded the science of radioactivity. Her work wasn't the sexiest in the top 10, but it was perhaps the most...
sexy.
Sexy in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the top 10 most important women in history, according to fan voting of women proposed by experts in BBC History Magazine in 2018. There you go.
Hooray.
Hooray. What a way to come back with the Tennis Podcast. We're back in black, don't forget.
Okay.
And I thought we could close out with some podcast review skis. What do you say?
Yeah, hit me with those.
All right, podcast reviews. First one from Schmitty052 on Apple Podcasts. Quote, how many top 10 podcasts are out there? A lot, but this one has a great concept that makes it different than any other I've listened to. After I listened to one episode, I found myself wanting to listen to another. You may run into a few dad jokes along the way.
What?
But it's worth it. Highly recommend this podcast.
Hey, are there other top 10 podcasts?
Yeah, I that struck me too, because I remember when we first started, I was looking for those. And I only found 1 or 2, and they are both inactive. So
Well, if you're out there and you also have a top 10 podcast, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, you'll be hearing from our lawyers. Our Blue Wire lawyers. We got some...
we got these high-powered Blue Wire lawyers now.
Thank you, Schmitty. And the dad jokes. You know, I'd like annoying my wife with dad jokes more than I like her laughing at my jokes.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about the laugh.
Yeah. It's all about the eye roll.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, one more here. This is from Red's Ramblings on Podchaser. Top 10s are always great. Top 10s with fucks and shits thrown in? Perfect. But then he takes an abrupt turn to end with, quote, Jim Carrey is king.
Too much. Oh, I thought he was going to say too much cursing.
No, it's just like
Jim Carrey. He must have liked that episode.
The Jim Carrey episode, yes. So yeah, we do top 10s with some fucks and shits thrown in. I'll concede to that. We definitely do. That's definitely our niche here on the Tennis Podcast.
That's the seasoning in our podcast stew.
Stirred by Typhoid Mary. And if you want your review read on a future episode of the show, just go to Apple Podcasts or go to podchaser.com. Rate us 5 stars, write a review, and we'll read it.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Brandon, can you give our listeners any sort of sneak peek to the kind of list ideas rolling around in your head for this, I guess we'll call it this new season of the show?
Well, no, because I haven't thought of anybody yet, but it won't be spooky because we haven't yet gotten to Spooktober.
Well, by the time your episode airs, it will.
Wait, it is going to be Spooktober? All right, then.
The next episode, yeah.
That's what you... Spooktober. Then fuck it. That's what you got to look forward to. I'm coming up with something spooky to kick off Spooktober, and we're going to have to get extra spooky this Spooktober because Halloween is canceled.
Why?
On account of coronavirus.
Don't you know that's a liberal hoax, Brandon? You fucking sucker.
All right. Well, it'll be scarier than that. It has to be extra scary because it just does.
Well, you can look forward to that on Spooktober starting next week. And the last thing I want to say before we leave is that I was recently a guest on the Customers Also Watched podcast. The episode came out on September 15th, so a few weeks ago now. I was the guest on the show, and we talked about the 70s movie Lady Ice. It's a jewel thief stealing movie, and it sucks. It stars Donald Sutherland, and it's terrible. And
what did it was really it so bad it was good, or was it just bad and bad?
It was bad and bad. I mean, there was definitely a few campy parts where I enjoyed it. But for the most part, me and the host, Erica, were both just frustrated. So,
did you rip that movie a new asshole?
I did. And I filled it with ice for Lady Ice. So yeah, that's Lady Ice. Listen to me on the Customers Also Watched podcast. It's a great podcast in general. They watch movies. So they finish one movie, like Lady Ice, for example, and then the suggestions that Amazon pops up at the end of the movie, it says the Customers Also Watched list. They pick a movie from that, and that's the next episode. So it's kind of like an endless cycle of bad movies. Bad and good movies, but like usually kind of off the beaten path movies, not mainstream, or at least old. So anyway, Customers Also Watched. You should check it out, and you should also fucking give us a high five for getting through this episode.
I did it.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.